Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing, man? Welcome. Hey, my name is Kelvin,
And I'm Latanya,
and
and
we're
we are
the
the
Dooleys,
Dooleys.
and this is
Marriage,
Marriage,
business,
Business,
and
and Ministry.
ministry.
Man, we're so excited to have you guys here today, man. Listen, we got our boy, one of my, man, listen, when I tell you I love this guy, man, y'all gonna hear me say this a lot of times about some of the guests that we bring on. And this is because I have true relationships with the people that I deal with. This ain't just out the cuff. This ain't just somebody I met a couple of days ago, man. I've been knowing this gentleman, been knowing this wonderful, fine young man since 2010. We were just talking about this earlier. We met 2010. I was fresh off the boat of Iraq. Came in trying to get my feet back wet in the field of the restaurants, and our close friend of ours that we mutual, actually introduced us. And matter of fact, me and him still friends. Me and him still friends today. And this is Mr. Chris Carrington. Chris Carrington and I, again, we worked in an establishment together. I was probably with him for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, until I met that until I met my end. First time in my life I ever got fired. I ain't never been. That's the first and the last time I ever got fired in my life. And when I tell you the greatest thing that ever happened to me was to get fired, man, because it taught me a lesson. I knew how to run a business, but I didn't know how to be a business. And that's why we got Chris on here right now. Chris is an established young man. I'm going to let my wife read his bio to you guys, man. But welcome to the show, Chris.
Man, thanks for having me, Dooley. What's good, man? Hey, look, man, I do need to reach out to Sims over there. See how he doing.
Tim's supposed to be getting on with us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let
he's
me know
supposed
when
to
that will
be
happen.
getting on
I
with us.
got to clear my calendar for that one.
Yes, sir. He as a matter of fact, I do private catering for him and his basketball team. Yeah. I do private catering for him and his basketball team. So so this month we'll be in Florida. We'll be in Florida.
Nice.
I did one in Georgia for him, man. He has an awesome basketball team, man. The guys, man, are so respectful. But here's the thing that me and you know better than anybody. Attitude would always be attitude will always be a reflection of leadership. So you can tell his team by the leadership that he brings to the table, man.
Oh, yes.
Charles is an awesome guy. But, man, we want to thank you, Chris, man, for coming in on us, man. I know you got a wealth of knowledge. To those that's going to tap in, man, I promise you, if you're a business owner, if you're somebody that's trying to scale your business and you want to hear some of the knowledge, I'm going to tell you this now. He ain't one of those guys that's going to patty cake you. Now, I promise you that. He ain't going to patty cake you. He ain't gonna just give you the information. You're gonna have to work for it. But when you're working for it, that means you're establishing a relationship with this gentleman, and he's gonna give you, man. I tell you something, man. Every time we meet up, when he's in town, and we meet up, man, he always drops some nuggets on me, something I didn't think about or something I really need to think about. And one thing he has told me, and I'm gonna get to his bio. One thing he told me that I have tried my hardest to do, and I'm still going to do it. I still have a passion and a love and a drive for what I do. He said it's time for me to fire myself. I fired myself for about 3 months last year. I fired myself for about 3 months last year. This year, I got as you know, we've brought in a new manager, trying to train and teach him. So that's why my time is back in the restaurant, instilling the knowledge and wisdom, because eventually I'm gonna give it all to my princess. But here we're gonna read your bio off so people can get to know who you are.
Share it out.
Okay.
All right. So we have the awesome, magnificent Chris Carrington with us on today. Chris Carrington is the director of operations at Lee Wesley Restaurants, where he brings over 25 years of expertise in the food service and hospitality industry. As an operating member of Food Makes Sense LLC, Christopher is instrumental in delivering top-notch consulting and management services that drive business success and innovation. Christopher education includes Johnson and Wales University, where he earned an associate's in applied science in culinary arts. He has a bachelor's of science in food service management and an MBA from Strayer University. His extensive experience and educational background have been pivotal in implementing efficient and operational strategies and enhancing customer satisfaction, excuse me. Outside his professional commitments, Christopher continually seeks to inspire and mentor upcoming professionals in the culinary and hospitality sectors, sharing his wealth of knowledge and fostering a culture of growth and excellence. Thank you for having us. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for being one of the guests. My God, listen, Chris, we gave you.
Hold on, man. I got to say, listening to somebody else talk about you is a humbling experience, man. I don't know how to do. I have a hard time taking that. So thank you, Miss Dooley, for that introduction. I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
The pleasure's all out. Listen, man, Chris, we did our side, man. It won't do us any justice unless you introduce your own self, man. Tell us a little bit about who Chris Carrington is.
Man, a man of many hats. I'm a father. I'm a professional. When people actually look at me that way, I'm a friend. I'm just that guy. I'm born and bred straight out of Virginia. Staying in the sunny states of Florida, where it was a bomb and 75 degrees here. I know that y'all got snow, but it's okay. It's okay. And I'm just passionate about life, man, and trying to get more. Not even trying. I'm just doing what I can to make sure that I get what I want out of this life that I have in front of me. You only get one of them. So look. When they put that what is it, that if in my name, that between the L and the E, that life, I don't want to waste none of it. I don't even want to use if I could have did this or if I should have did that. Man, I ain't got it.
Right. That's good, man. That's good, man.
Don't even
go ahead.
It's life. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So me and Chris have been knowing each other. I said this earlier, man, since 2010, and he and I have been competitive about so many things, man. But I think we've learned a lot from each other. Management styles, leadership styles. We butted heads a lot. But this is the type thing I like with this type of friendship and this type of head butting. It's not to make one be bigger than the other one. It's to challenge the other one to be greater. We pulling the best out of each other. When he says something to me, whether I agree or I disagree with it, we'll talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Let me hear your point and let you hear my point. And sometimes you agree to disagree. For 2 years, we talked about what's the difference between 180 and 360. Not 1 year, 2 years. We set out in the food court, man, and argued and debated this thing. Both of us turning red.
We took it on Facebook. Look, if you're willing to go back many years to find that discussion, I tell you that would have to be.
We've done that. Listen, we got some stories to tell y'all, man. If y'all know, if y'all have been around us, y'all heard me talk about Chris before. But this is one thing that he and I have never forgot, man. One day, I was kind of fairly new. He had just allowed me to run the restaurant by myself for the first time. And this female came in late. And if y'all know me, you know I have zero tolerance for that. I fired her on the spot. I mean, get about it. And it was just me. And there was a brand new girl named Renetta, man. Just me and Renetta, and Chris just so happened. I don't know if we called you or you just came up there.
I walked in. Yep.
And it was me. I ran the whole back station. Chris was up on the front station, and we had that young lady for the first, never even pushed the button on the register.
This is her first look.
Hey.
Had to get a crash course. Just press these buttons right here, and you should be good.
Press these buttons, and when I tell you we handled it, we did. Chris, I know we did, man. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I know it was over 2,500, right at 2,500.
Oh yeah,
for that lunch period, man. And I ran orange chicken, Beijing beef, fried rice, lo mein. We cooking this stuff together and running up front, taking orders and trying to help this girl. It was just 3 of us for about 3 hours. What, 2 or 3 or 4 hours, man? $2,500. Can't nobody say nothing to me. You can't say nothing to me, Doc.
Say it, man. Look, I tell people you ain't been to war until you done had to go to war. And I ain't talking like no disrespect. I know y'all a soldier family. This is a different type of war. I ain't talking about that one that y'all be having on that battlefield. I'm talking about that one when we got hungry people.
Yeah.
Especially hungry Navy people.
Man,
woo. And you got to calm those beasts. And this was during lunchtime. So
this was lunchtime. Just imagine if you didn't walk in, man. I'd have been miserable. I'd probably made $400 that day because I'd have been trying to figure it out. Didn't have time to call nobody or nothing.
Look, we made it happen, man. That
we
was
made
all
it happen, man. Yeah. And then you moved on. So I ended up moving on, and y'all know the story. I got terminated from the corporation that he's now with. And what it did was, and I'm gonna say this. Chris did help me. He saw my weakness and he was giving me pointers, but in my head, I know what I'm doing, but I didn't know what I couldn't talk business. I tell people this, I tell everybody this. I did not know how to talk business. I knew how to run the business, but I couldn't talk it when it came to it. And they called me out and they said, "You're not fit for my brand." And did it hurt? Absolutely. But it sure made me go to school. I went to school 2 weeks later. You remember I went to school 2 weeks later at TCC and made myself study what I didn't know. And now you can't tell me nothing. And listen, all I got is an associate's degree. I ain't got all that. I ain't got all that other stuff. I got but I understood the basic. I just needed to know the basic, and I just dug in and I got it. So Chris, man, we're gonna dive into this, man. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk tonight, man. Again, Chris has been with this organization, man. I got there in 20 years. Were you there with 2009?
10. You came at the end. Yep, you came at the end because we was starting to open up the Taco Bell A&W. Right.
So I took over that location. Yep.
And you came in as the assistant, and this is one thing about me. If you're talented, I'm gonna put you in a position where you can win. And I was like, look, he don't need to be up underneath me. This your next GM over there. So got you up from underneath me and you got that opportunity over there. Unfortunate, didn't seize the opportunity, but you came back and redeemed yourself. I ain't even mad at you, man.
I was determined, and this is why I came back, Chris.
Yes.
I think we discussed it. Maybe we didn't. Number one, I felt like I let the company down. I let myself down. Number one, and because it was, and I just say this clichely, it was a black business that was really to me seemed like it was just really getting started. They didn't have all the stuff they have in place now. That was really getting started, and I felt like I let my race down because I didn't put forth the proper effort. I felt like I let myself down. I had to go and talk to my wife. I let her down. I let my children. My children were small then, but I had to come home and face my wife at 35 years old and say, "Your baby, I don't got no job. I'm fired right now because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, man." Same thing with you, man. Because I know you put me out there a lot, man. I did feel, and I never told you this part. I felt like I did a disjustice to you because you went to bat for me. The same way I went to bat for you when you thought they was after your head. I went to bat.
He don't even speak on him, but he was after me. I know it.
Hey, I went to bat. I told everybody that Chris is probably the greatest thing you got going on right here. I put myself. I said if he ain't in, I'll walk out with him. If you fire him, I'll walk out with him. And I told Mr. Lee that. I told Mr. Lee that I walk out with him. Because I felt like you had what it took. You had the drive and the passion. And so I felt all those things, man. And because of that, I wanted to come back and to redeem myself and to redeem face value with you myself. I wanted to do right by you and at least let them know that you made a right choice because they didn't want me back the second time.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I really understand it because now that I'm a business owner, I understand it.
Yes.
I understand it. But when I came back, I had something to prove. And Chris is also the person that I was leaving one location, coming to the next. When I heard Steve Harvey jump speech, I walked into the business. I'm on the line, me and him looking at each other, and he says, "Kevin, get out of here."
Hang on.
He said, "Kevin, go home." I remember that like it was yesterday, and that was the start of us bring our brand. Yeah, I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to leave him hanging, but I was grateful he saw in me what I needed to do, man, and I needed to get away. And he gave me the opportunity. But here's one thing. Let's get started, man.
Okay.
So the first question I got for you, Chris, and I want you to speak this in a broad spectrum to business owners. I know this is a platform where we're talking about marriage, business, and ministry, and it's usually a platform where it's me and my wife are talking about the challenges of these three areas as a couple. But I want you, because I speak to so many small business owners that are challenged in a lot of areas. And I know you have the wisdom it takes to speak to them. So here's the first question I have for you. What financial lessons have you learned since obtaining the title of Director of Operations of the company you now represent?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say that from a financial standpoint, if people have not chartered those territories, they don't know what they're doing. Most people don't know from your CEOs, from directors of operation, anybody from the C-suite, to go from $1 million company to a $5 million company, from a $5 million company to a $50 million. And
what about $100,000 company to a 900,000?
Yeah, so not like don't know what you're doing. You don't like every step of the way. You really don't know what you're getting yourself into, and that's okay. That's the thing. Now, if you stay ignorant, and ignorance is only not knowing. So if anybody feel like I'm calling them many names, so be it. I mean, it's just what it is. But ignorance is simply not knowing. And if you stay ignorant, that's your choice, right? There's a lot of people out here that's willing to help you, even for free. I think SCORE has been around forever as part of it. And small was the SBA has a lot of different organizations that they deal with. And when it comes down to it, if you're not seeking the information, if you're not willing to go to someone that has been there already, then you're going to be hard-nosed and white-knuckling it is what they really call it, your way through it until you learn, right? And it's going to come with a lot of mistakes. And mistakes is simply your education to life.
Right.
Nothing's wrong with the mistakes. Nothing at all is wrong with them. Something's wrong with you not learning from your mistakes.
It's real good.
Because if you continue to keep bumping your head at the same thing, you ain't getting it. You ain't getting it. And your mistakes it's going to keep holding you back. And I had to learn that, just opening yourself up for critique, right? Not thinking that all critique is somebody criticizing you or trying to put you down. I've even had to learn that failure isn't the worst thing in the world. Failure
to me has been the best thing.
Man,
it's probably the best thing.
Can I give you a story?
Give me one.
So I was in college. This is all the way back in college. This is how finances started to click to me. And I didn't realize it at the time. I was just frustrated. So I'm going across the Berkeley Bridge down there, or the downtown bridge down in Norfolk. And I'm in college doing storeroom class on my way to Johnson & Wales. And that's when Johnson & Wales was out there in Norfolk before they moved. Man, I'm aging myself. I ain't that old. Now, so I'm off to college, and just like, a high functioning college student, I waited to the last minute to do my project, and it was due that day. So I'm like, I go in a couple of hours early and get it done. So I get on the Berkeley Bridge and the bridge go up. I'm like, all right, this ain't going, and I'm early. I'm like, Kelvin, I'm about 4 hours early. Because I know I got to buckle down and I got to do this paper. So I'm sitting on that bridge and it had a jam in it. The other side kept going up and down. They won't letting anybody through. This one went down, then it came back up, and it took them about 3.5 hours to fix that thing. I'm sitting on the bridge that entire time to the point where the only class that I failed in college was storeroom. I went to that class. I had to tuck my head between my tail. I had to take it just like a man. That was one of the biggest things that I had, the biggest lessons that I had to learn. Humbling.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I go in there, I failed that class. I did not do well. What I didn't know is I didn't know food costs the way that I should have known it. And when I took that class the second time around, it's like all of that stuff started clicking. It was.
We're gonna talk about that too. Yeah. We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about that because that's the strong. I'll keep going, man. We're gonna talk about that.
So I went to that class. And this is one of the things that I would tell anybody, especially if you're in school listening to me. Do not allow anybody to do what I did to the second group of students. I already had a project done. I told them it's an A project because I did my project. I went on ahead and finished it out, and it was a group project. So I had all of that information, and all we had to do was turn it in. I got what I needed out of that class, but to those students that they got a free A, but they didn't get the lessons and stuff that they needed out of that. And
you're talking real good. you talk, and that lesson right there goes across the board. It doesn't necessarily have to be food costs or whatever. Sometimes Dr. T said something yesterday, man. We see success, or we're killing it. We're killing it. That you putting that project in to them, man. We killing this, man. We gonna get this A, not knowing you killing them. Oh man, he said something. When he said that, yes, and that just went with what you just said. Here we are. We have the knowledge, we have the stuff, and we want to pad it and give it to them without them having to do the research and the hard work that it took us to get it. Oh, you're talking real good tonight, man. Somebody really needed to hear just that part right there. Don't just take the information you're getting at face value. Sometimes get the information, pin it on the board, then go and do your research. How did they continue? The manager that I have, Chris, does that now. We're going over food costs. I'm teaching we breaking everything down the same way you and I used to do at Panda. We breaking it down to the simplest form. We going to ounces. We're not using pencils. We're not using paper. We ain't out here first because I want you to think this process out. When I look at that dish, I want to be able to know off the top of my head how much that dish costs just by looking at it. Correct. Then go in and dive in and see how far I am off from the price being correct or the price being off, and then what I need to do to adjust myself for that. That's good.
Cecile.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Cecile said hello.
What's up,
hey, Cecile?
Love you, Cecile. Yeah, man. So here's the second part of the first question, Chris. You kind of answered a little bit, man, but I want you to see if you can dive a little bit deeper into this one. Tell us one thing about business finances that blew your mind when you got it, when it finally clicked. You said, man, this finally makes sense to me.
That had to be it. And it came at that early age. It was understanding the numbers is the key to running a business. Once you get to manipulating those numbers, and when I say manipulation, don't go do anything illegal. Don't go out there tax evasions and all that. You did not hear me tell you that you need to go do that. But to be able to make them numbers scream is something that you needed to do. I liken it to like having a child. if you don't pay attention to your child is going to run rampant. If you don't pay attention to your money, it's going to run rampant.
Yep.
You really need to pay attention to where your money is going. Matter of fact, we want the worst children in the world, but we want the best. Let's put it that way, right?
Right.
Would you say that there's different places that your mama didn't know that you went, even to this day? If you don't even remember it, you had to tell her, right? Okay. Right. That means that she wasn't around enough, or she didn't see every avenue that she needed to see.
Right.
So even with you being in those predicaments, you were some places that you should not have been. And you were in those places because somebody, not that they're a bad person, at that particular time, they didn't have an eye on you.
Right.
That's how you need to attack your dollars. If you're not attacking your dollars that same way, that you need to keep your eyes on them, they're going to go off into places that they should not be. They're going to go out the back door. They're going to go in somebody else's stomach. You better pay attention to it, or it's going to be
you talking good.
Ain't supposed to be at. It's going to be at that boy house. I'm telling you, your money will go and be a disgruntled child, just like your children are. And they're gonna be places that you ain't want it to be, and you ain't gonna be able to spend it the way that you need to because you're not paying attention to
it. I promise you, if somebody listening to that nugget right there, just that nugget alone, so that nugget alone made me create. And I would, you can attest to this. You came in sometimes. I was there all by myself, and the reason why I like the fact that I was there by myself, it allowed me to think of that dysfunctional child, and if I don't watch it, where it would go. It made me create my waste sheet. It made me create. You remember when I first came to Panda, I created my game plan because I wanted to know where everything was at. I wanted to keep my eye on the money. It made me come up with procedures on carrying trash out, having clear trash bags, all those things. Why? Because I wanted to see where our money was going. Because at the time we didn't have a lot coming in, so I had to watch it. But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing to that, Chris. And these are for creative business owners like myself. I'm a creative business owner. I create product. I'm a product creator, my burgers and stuff like that. I had to learn how to be watchful that I'm not over creating or bringing in product that does not even line up with my business. Because that way I'm throwing away unnecessary money when I could be just focusing in on why do I need to get this Wagyu beef when all I'm selling is an 80-20 burger? Why I need to bring that in? Or why am I spending it on this type of lettuce when all they're gonna do is take it off anyway or just barely eat it? So keep a different. So those type of things you have to know how. You have to know your product. I take my team, my management team, my daughter. We go into Restaurant Depot. We're looking at prices because I want them to understand the difference. Why is this steak meat right here $45 and this steak meat right here is $23? And are we pricing our product? You can attest to it properly with the product that we have. Are we charging enough? Look, if we ain't charging enough, that money's gonna get away from us.
Kelvin, your inability to manage is somebody else's opportunity to take advantage of you.
Say that one more time.
That's good. That's good.
Your inability to manage is somebody else's opportunity to take advantage of you. It's that simple, man.
Your ability not to manage is somebody's opportunity to take advantage. Man, this brother is dropping knowledge, business owners. This brother just gave y'all one of the keys to success in your business. This is not even, this can be transformed from the food service in which we operate in to any type of business. Every business is spending and making money. Every business, you want to be in business if you want making money.
Correct.
Don't give other people's opportunity to take advantage of you because you're lack.
Man,
and
there's nobody's fault. So, and sometimes people have to take advantage of you in order for you to realize that you need to clean that up. It's unfortunate that it has to happen to people that way. But sometimes you have to have those hard truths and that hard lesson in order for you to have those corrections in life, right?
Yeah, brother.
So-
Oh, listen, you blessed me with that one, man.
That was good.
That was good. That was that. As J.J. Evans used to say on Good Time, that's good. That's good.
No, it's dynamite.
Oh my God. Chris, that blessed my spirit that time, brother.
Okay.
It did, man. Listen, let's go to question number 2. Chris, I don't even want to get off of that one, man, because I think that one right there, Chris, is a game changer across the board, man. So any of y'all business owners, man, at the end of this, man, we're going to let Chris give y'all his information. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you guys, same thing I say about myself. We ain't cheap, because you're going to get a whole lot of, we ain't cheap at all, man. So just know when you call, if he's dropping this type of knowledge and wisdom, man, you got this stuff comes with a cost. He can't just give it to you. I give it to you for free sometimes because I want to love on you. He got a business in there. This is his business. So he ain't cheap. So I'm just saying, I ain't cheap either. I'm gonna cost you 10. You're gonna pay me 10 grand.
10 grand, man.
I'm 10 grand, man. I ain't cheap, man.
What kids
I get results.
Racks on racks on racks.
So we doing it. But look, you're gonna get my time. If I'm gonna sit down with you, you're gonna get my but you're gonna have to listen. Some of that comes with you got to listen. I'm giving you this for a reason. You took time out because of our relationship, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it still cost me something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, might cost me
Get it on the
black.
back end. Look, I get it on the back end.
You're right, man. Hey, listen, here's the second question right here, man. This one right here, Chris. This is the one I've been waiting on right here.
Okay.
All right. This is the one I've been waiting on from you. And I want my daughter to come. Can I get my daughter in here on this one, man? Come here, Princess.
Hey, you got it.
Listen, I want her to.
That's my buddy right there. That's my baby.
Chris, I want you to look in her eye when you say this one, when we talk about this one, because these are the areas that we're in right now.
Oh man.
Here it is. Can you teach just for a little bit, Chris? This is for food service, all right? These are for people that have food business. Your restaurant owner, food truck, caterer, all these things. This question right here that we're fixing to talk about, listen to me now. When he start dropping these gems on y'all better have a pen, paper. You better have your tablet out. You better be recording what he's about to say. Right, here we go. Can you teach how to balance food costs, labor costs, and profitability?
Okay. So we're talking about control the controllables and basically your P&L, or what some people like to call EBITDA. So I start at the bottom, right? So EBITDA is earnings before depreciation. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. EBITDA, you're right. Amortization, depreciation, income tax, right? So EBITDA is earnings, which you made,
Right.
minus everything else before your depreciation, amortization, and your income tax. Okay. A lot of banks look at that. A lot of places that, or people, even investors that want to give you money, they want to know where your profitability is. Okay. So that becomes very important. And they typically look at it in percentages. So what is that in relationship? And percentages is only relationship of something, right? When it comes down to what is the relationship between your EBITDA and your revenue? Okay. Are you making 10%? Are you bringing 10% to the bottom line? Are you bringing 15%? Are you bringing 2%? Are you bringing negative 3% to the bottom line? Negative 10% to the bottom line, right? And over what period of time has these things been happening? So that's where it starts to become very important. Now, granted, P&L statement is not the only statement that institutions look at, but that's the one that we're focusing on today, right?
Right.
Okay. So now, how do you make sure that EBITDA or your profit line is meeting its your expectations, so that you can continue to grow? Because I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to grow. So you have to start looking at what we call the controllables, the things that is within your control, or what a lot of companies or a lot of financiers start to tell you, those are your variable costs, which is different from your fixed costs. So those variable costs are stuff like your food costs, because as you make more money, that cost goes up in a dollar. But you want to look at how that relationship is, because the dollar amount goes up, the percentage doesn't have to go up. So if you're running, let's say, a 35-40% food cost, and you're saying that you need to be at a 33% food cost, and there's a whole lot of different metrics and ways to figure that out. And I'm not going to give it all because of the time that we have. But when you start looking at those metrics and you start to figure out that my theoretical, or what I should be making, is around 33%, then I got a problem here, and I need to go figure out where it is. And when you start looking at something as simple as a food cost, you're talking about 3 to 4 major areas that you're only going to be able to fix that in. That's sales, that's the cost of your food or the purchasing of your food, right? If you have multiple units, I think y'all have 2 locations, you got to track what product is going to the other store and which product is coming back to that other store, right? And then you got to also look at where the food is going, the waste. Is it going in the container like it's supposed to be doing? And it's, like I said, it's very limited to how you start to correct those things. And there's very keen strategies that people put in. I've seen people do dumpster diving to combat waste. I've seen people, like you say, to clear bags. And there's so many different ways that you can go about doing it that you have to really hone in. But the first thing that you have to be able to do is figure out what that theoretical is, because you'll just be shooting in the dark.
Can I tag team on you with that one, Chris? I just want to throw just a quick nugget in, but I love what you're saying, and what I think anybody that's in the food service industry or food industry, well, what he's saying in when he's talking about the theoretical is everybody's food cost is not going to be the same. Your business may like ours. I try to push a 32% food cost, right? Mm-hmm. Your business, even though you have the same thing, could be a 35, 36, a 40% food cost. You just need to dive in and do your theoretical, which is the research it's going to take for you to know what your food cost needs to be for you to meet your cost. So food cost, labor cost. That's a it doesn't slip my mind, man. But what the title of that is, but that's what he's saying. Everybody's food cost is not the same. You need to know what your business food cost is. Go ahead, Chris.
And then even understanding that, you'll start to find out that you probably can't operate a business. And I'm gonna say probably because there are some businesses that's probably functioning at this level, but you can't operate a business at a 40-50% food cost, right? So you might be trying to do everything that you needed to do. You might be cutting all the waste. You ain't got nobody stealing from you. Your portions are industry standard, and you just had not realized that. Well, you probably need to go up on your prices. Right? So understanding where it all is, that's going to be the main critical portion of making sure that you get that in line. Now, I think, did you have any questions about that food cost piece of it? Because you told me to talk to the young lady, because little Miss Dooley, that's my darling there, man. I swear I still got to open up that book and make me some egg rolls. Go get her book. It is an amazing book. Get those egg rolls books for that young lady right there, the CEO of J&K Style Grill. Get it today. If you don't, please get it. That young lady deserves that. Now, the
labor.
if you're looking at the labor piece of it, then that's usually the easiest thing that you can deal with. But you have to also realize, what does it take to actually run your business? If you're a scratch restaurant, spell that out for people, is you're doing everything by scratch. Your labor is going to be a little higher than somebody that's opening up cans and opening up bags and putting those things in. So you got to understand what you need your labor for, what you need that workforce for, and how do you maximize them. Like there's different metrics and things that you can look at. Sales per man hour is one of them. And you start to get an understanding of that, so that one, all of your profits isn't going into your employees' pockets, right?
And that's real good.
I'm not saying this because we don't want our employees to do well. We definitely want them to do well. But if you have to close your door, they're not getting a paycheck the next week. So it's your responsibility for them to keep your doors open. If you care about your employees as much as you say you do, you have to run your business to the level of profit that you can not only grow, they can grow with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's real good.
That's real good,
man. That's real
something
good.
that I'm talking directly to Dooley on this one now, Kelvin. You want them to grow, because every time you in there doing their job, you taking their lessons away from them. So you gotta allow them to do their job so that you can go and do your job, which is start to grow the business.
That's real good. Chris, get off my daggone foot, man. That foot off my neck, man. I heard what you said, man. I love it, man. I appreciate that, man. Hey, so here's another piece on labor. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with food costs. Everybody's labor is the same according to what he was. I mean, everybody's labor is different according to the needs of the business. I want that to be clear, because for us, I was running a 20% food cost, 21% food cost when not food cost, 21% labor. And I actually told my manager I no longer want to run a 21% labor, that we have to get our labor to 18%. 18% is still a little high for us. The goal is to be down to 15%, but in order to get to 15%, sales have to go up, and then we have to do the increase, which is necessary in when you're trying to figure out your food costs and your labor. That percentage, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, should be between 60 and 55 to 60% of your total. I don't want to say sales. That ain't what I want to say. But 60% of your profitability.
Hold on. Ask that question one more time.
So what is your food cost and your? The terminology is slipping it's on the tip of my tongue. For some reason, I can't bring it out. But your food cost plus your labor should be a certain percentage.
Okay.
I like to run a 55%. Man, what is it called?
That's pretty. So your food cost would be your gross profit margin,
right?
Alone, but your controllable costs. Is your labor. Now, when you get to the cost overall, you want to be, so I'll work from the bottom up. If you're sitting at about 80 to 85% total cost, then you're doing very well going into the profitability line, right? So now when you go back up to your labor and your food costs, 50 to 55% is not bad at all. But you also got to look at what are you really measuring, right? Some people only look at the controllable and that is the hourly portion of it, right? Now,
Right.
if you start to put into, if you start looking at payroll related expenses and all of those other things, then that labor can run you up to about 20, 25, 30%, right?
Right.
Which is pretty healthy. And sometimes even just a little bit more. It just depends on the business that you're operating in and what is it that you're trying to do. I would tell you have some businesses that feel like they have a very low cost. They probably only sell rice. How much does rice cost? I was gonna say eggs, but eggs like $1,000.
Rice and chicken eggs.
Eggs $1,000. But if you have low margins in your food costs, you might say that I'm going to spend a little extra on my labor. I'm gonna pay a little bit higher to get higher quality people, to make sure that my customer service is right. So there's so many different ways or strategies that you can look into it that would even justify a higher labor cost. But at the end of the day, if you're profitable, as long as it comes down to that EBITDA line and even your profit, your take home money, you want to make sure that it makes sense.
Right.
Because if it makes enough sense, then it got to make dollars.
If it makes dollars, it makes sense. If it makes sense, to make dollars, man. I like that, man. That's some great. That's a wealth of knowledge you just dropped on us right there, Chris, man.
Mm-hmm.
And for y'all business owners, man, I'm telling you, man, you need to be writing this stuff down. This information he's giving you. A lot of times, you guys want to do this trial and error, or you want to learn it the hard way. Listen, some bumps in the road I ain't meant to take, man. I lost for 4 straight years, and again, Chris was there. He was in on some of it, heard my pains and all that. Me and my wife didn't take a paycheck for 4 straight years. 4 years, because everything that came in was going right back into the business, So we was just holding on by a string, and almost lost our home. Cars was getting repoed, coming home, the water and the lights not on, because we just trying to figure it out the hard way. And even though I had education under my belt, I still was hard. I still was stubborn and trying to figure it all out. But now, we talking numbers now, Doc. Yes, sir. We talking good stuff, and we talking education. Go ahead.
And I would tell people to that point, if you don't learn how to pay yourself, have the business pay you, you're gonna be the biggest crook in your business. Right? Remember, that business is an entity on its own. You want it just like any other child. I've heard a lot of people say, well, this is my baby and I don't want to let it go. Any other child, that child has to grow up and go off on his own. And it has to do big things for you, right? And you want to be proud of that child. So you have to get it to the point where it stands on its own. And part of that is that business should give you a salary if you're not at that point. And some people, you're not at that point. And you also got to understand that when you got into it, you might not be at that point of salary yet. But once you are able to get that, you have to separate your payment from that business from your profitability, because if you're looking for this business to grow, you're going to need those profits in order for it to grow. Mm-hmm.
That's good talking right there. So, and this is one thing that I like to talk about, Chris, and maybe you can add on to this. For small business owners like ourselves who are growing, this year, I'm crossing my fingers that this year we walk into the manifestation of the restaurant we had talked about. I think I brought it up to you or something like that. And I chose this year not to take my family on a vacation. Usually we go on vacation because we work so much. We work. And I wanted to take, I usually take them on a vacation, 7, 8 day, 9 day vacation. But this year I decided we're not going to go on vacation because I don't want to take that $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 on a vacation when a door of opportunity open up that we don't have the finances in place to to manifest what our next stage is in the growth of J&K Style Grill. And I'm one of the ones, Chris, that I don't like, and I'm trying to get this out of my system. I don't want to use other people's money, which I know that's what most businesses do. But I want to be able to stand this next entity on our own 2 feet. And then when it's time to branch out again, then we can start using the other platforms financially. But this time I just want, just like you say, the baby, because that's how I look at it, our baby. And I want to give our baby the opportunity to be blessed by the parents of this entity, my daughter, myself, my wife, and those like that. So is it wise, Chris, in the growing of your business to use your own money, or be wise enough to use other people's money and know that you're going to have to pay an interest on that if you can afford to do that?
Well, that's one of those things that deals with a person's comfort level, right? Unless you figure out OPM, which is other people's money, you're not going to grow at the rate that you're looking for, right? Or people aren't going to be able to grow at that rate. Most businesses have either the equity of their business to leverage, meaning that you can invite investors in, or you have collateral or some way that you can go to a bank and do it. I can't sit up here with good conscience and tell people what their comfort level should be, but I could tell you that you're going to stunt your growth if you don't come to terms with leveraging other people's money, or getting a handle or understanding of how other people utilizing other people's money can actually catapult you to the next levels that you need to be in.
That's good. That's good. That's good, man. I appreciate that, man. Listen, this is the last one, man, and then we're going to get off of here, man. It's been such a pleasure, man, to spend time with you. Man, a wealth of information, man.
Yes.
Here's the last thing for you, man. What advice do you have for a restaurant looking to scale their restaurants to the next level? What is, and this is the final, and then you take the final word from there. We're going to let you have the floor from there.
Okay. So what I would say, if you're looking to scale your business, the first thing that I would say is get someone that's done it before, right? That's the shortcut to anything. That's the cheat code. Someone that has the amount of businesses that you're looking for, get them, pay them what they're worth, pay them what they're asking for if you honestly believe in it. If you don't, move them to the side and find somebody else. You have these rights in you to be able to do that. So get you a mentor, get you in some type of mentorship would be the very first thing that I would say for somebody to do. The very next thing that someone would need to do is assess their finances, right? Where are you currently at? If you don't understand your money, you need to get a grasp on it, because you're not ready to grow anyway. And then the third thing that I would say is you got to build a team around you. Not only the team inside of the store, you got to also build a team outside of the store. Who's helping you with your bookkeeping? Who's helping you? And your mentor is part of that team that you have, right? Who's helping you to kind of guide you through the path? What does your legal look like, right? What are all of those things, so that as you continue to grow, you have the right counsel in place? Think of yourself as the president of your company, right? You're the president of that company. What does your cabinet look like? As soon as a president gets into office, they start picking the cabinet. So you need to figure out who your advisors are. And then the very next thing is, who is the person that's going to allow you to fire yourself? I know that you talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's one of those things where in order to fire yourself, somebody has to step in and do your job. Okay. So do they have the proper training? Do they have the things that they need? Do they have the tools that they need? Do you have the proper systems in place? And that's the key
That's
to
key.
the whole organization, is making sure that you got sound systems, because in order to scale, which all scalability is taking a system, moving it over to another thing, another location, and being able to utilize that system and do the same thing that you were doing at the last location, right? And you're going to have the right people in place in order to do it. And you don't need all of the right, and that's the misnomer that a lot of people have. You don't need all of the right people in place. You just need a critical few right people in place to help you grow. Like if you're going to go to 3 locations, you're going to need a district manager. Not you as a district manager. You're going to need a real district manager. And I guess this will go into my final words. If you're looking at yourself as the manager of your business, then that means that you're self-employed. You're not an entrepreneur. You might as well write yourself, you're self-employed, and that's okay. And a self-employed person, a good GM, a great GM runs a great location. A great GM can run 2 locations good, but a great GM cannot run 3 locations. They will overstretch themselves, and it's a skill to a 3rd location and beyond that you have to learn and grow between those 2 locations. And that number 1 skill that you got to learn and grow is delegation, aka let him go. Let it go, right? And let somebody else do it. Are they going to do it as good as you? Absolutely not. They're not. They're not going to be as good as you. Don't expect people to do what it is that you're doing, right? They're not bought in the same way that you are. They don't get, they're not, they don't have the same headaches that you have, and they're not gaining the same rewards that you're getting out of the business, right?
Right.
Mhm.
It's not theirs, right?
Right.
What it is you want their buy-in, and their buy-in at a very good rate will get you 80% of somebody if you have their full buy-in. Because and I tell you why you only get 80%. When you're sick and you need to go to the doctor, you go to the doctor and you come back to work. When they're sick and they need to go to the doctor, they ain't coming back to work for 2 or 3 days until they get better.
Right. That's good.
That's
You know
true.
what I'm saying? They're not as bought in as you are, right?
Right.
That's true.
But that's the hard. I'm gonna say this, man. I'm gonna let my wife say something too, man, after this, because she's been quiet the whole time. This is our lane. This is what we do.
Yeah.
On whenever we get together, man. This is my love language. I'm not even exaggerating, man. Now I forgot what I was fixing to say. What were you talking about? Girl, what were you talking about, man? I just forgot what I was.
People being bought in, people as much as you are.
No, I forgot.
It's okay.
I don't know, because I was bragging on, man. I relate. I just love this. I love this type of conversation, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's empowering to me. It stretches. It stretches me, and it makes me. So here it is. I got it now. I caught it back. So one of the hardest things for me, and we've had this conversation, is the let go. Right, that let go process is not. It's not the easiest thing to do. But I have been watching Cookout. Been watching Dave Wendy's history, the history of food, and all these things. And in order for them to grow, to the capacity that they grew, number one, they had to build a team, and number two, they had to be in a position to be willing to let go and have, like you say, these district people in place to be able to help operate and be okay with somebody. And that's the hardest thing, I guess, for a creator. that we started this from the ground up.
Mhm.
So it's been hard for me to kind of take a step away because I know it's not going to be done the way I want it to be done. But I also know, man, that they're giving me what I'm looking for, the best that they can give me. And I have to be okay with that. When I'm not around, I still get 5-star reviews. I still get people say, man, that food was good. Man, this and man is that. So, but it's still hard. I ain't gonna say, I'm saying HRD, and really it's HEART. It's so hard for me to just pull away from it because it is our baby.
So let me put it to you this way. You're gonna let it go eventually. We all got a date with death. Like I'm sorry if this rubs people the wrong way, is what it is. That's the truth of life. We all have a date with death. A lot of us don't know. Is this going to last past you? Do you even want it to last past you? Right? Sam Walton.
That's good.
Sam Walton has all of these different, well, he used to have all of these Walmarts, but he's not here to see them because he had to let it go. The ultimate let go. We all going to meet that demise at some point in time, right?
That's good. That's
so
you
let go now, and you get to enjoy it, or you can let go later, and somebody else get to enjoy it.
Man, that was a deep nugget right there. That was good, man. That was real good, man. You got something, sweetheart?
I just enjoyed all of this information, except especially the letting go. When you start a business from scratch, we all know this is your baby. This is always going to be a baby, but in the natural, baby's got to grow up, and you have to take your hands off them and let the baby be a grown up sometime. So you have to learn to take your hands off, and as long as you put your systems in place, as long as you put your protocol and procedures in place, you can be able to, you have trained up that baby the way it's supposed to go. And so you can walk away and let that baby be what you have trained it to be. So I have loved this conversation, and it's just not the food industry. It can be applied to any industry, whether it's sewing, a sewing company, whether it's a grocery store, a wash. It can be applied to any business.
So,
That's good.
and to that point, all business fit inside of a P&L.
Right.
So a P&L stretches across every single business. You make money, you spend money, and what's left over is either your profit or your loss. And that goes across every single business.
Correct.
Well, Chris, man, we want to thank you, man, for coming on, man. Listen, we've been on an hour and 3 minutes with you, man.
That's what it
That's
is.
the longest I think that's about the longest we done been on with somebody, man.
Man, I had a blast.
Go ahead.
No, I said I had a blast. I had a blast.
You know, it's always good, man. Every time I see my Mr. Burns walking in, man. Every time I see you, man, it's always a joy, man. It's always great catching up with you, man. I love to hear your smile, your laugh, man. I love to see you give me that serious look when you give it to me, man, or when you start thinking when we together, man, because I know you're going to drop a knowledge on me, man, or we're going to get into some type of debate. Which for me, I love it, man. I love our relationship, man, and thank you so much for believing in me and my family, man, and you know, just being there when we needed some information, man, or something like that, or just needed a quick walkthrough, and I need you guys need to work on this or look at this type thing, man, because everybody don't have that. Everybody don't have the opportunity to have a you in their life, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't have that opportunity. Right. And someone that feels comfortable, and my family feels comfortable around you. My daughter, you know, she admires your wisdom and knowledge, man. And I own too much. Hey, there's only a few people.
You gotta take care of that one right there.
Only a few people can talk to the princess, man. So
she tough,
man,
too.
She tough. Hey, man, she tough money, man. Hey, Chris, 5 more years, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, I promise you, because it's gonna click in two. Right now, she's still in the I'm getting out the teenager phase right now. She's a grown woman now. But in 5 years, by the time she's 24 years old, when I say I ain't gonna be nowhere to be found, Chris, me and Tony gonna be in another country, Doc, letting her run her thing, man. I ain't gonna be nowhere around.
Hey, I ain't mad at you.
Yes, sir, man. Well, thank you again, man. Go ahead. You better give me something.
I want to thank y'all for letting me into your home, letting me into your family, and treating me just like a brother. So thank you for the years of service that you've given to me as well. So thank you.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Hey, listen, well, I'm Kelvin.
I'm Latanya.
And we're the Doolies, man. This is Marriage, Business, and Ministry, man. Thank you, guys, man. Y'all have a wonderful evening, all right? Chris, we'll holler later, brother. That was good.